All right, welcome everybody. This is some YouTube exclusive content. I played exactly one league, honestly, since last stream yesterday. But I will be out of town for an entire week, so I wanted to make sure that some content at least was still coming out. So what I figured I would do is a while ago I made a video where I went in depth on going through all my plays and decisions in a burn matchup. So I thought I might as well do something like this, going over the league that I played yesterday, and you can tell me in the comments whether you like this kind of content or not. And of course, if you do enjoy it, of course, subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Twitter and all that stuff, and same thing in Twitch, where you can find my stream live. So let's get started. So this is going to be the first match of the league. This is game one, and hopefully Moto is going to cooperate here. So opponent goes first, and we are met with this opener. Once Upon a Time is pretty good, but as you can see here, even if we do find a land, and then we would also need to have an untapped a bounce line in order for this hand to make enough mana for a Titan. We also have 3 Titans, so this hand is a little bit too redundant. Of course, no land drops doesn't help either, but we're gonna ship it for sure. So we do ship, and then we're met with this other hand, which is arguably even worse. So we're gonna ship this one as well. This one doesn't even have a Once Upon a Time, so this is a snap mulligan. And finally, we get to a reasonable 5. It's not incredible, but with a little bit of help, we might get there. One thing that you were gonna notice about this hand is we need to understand what it is that we're looking for. Okay, we need to understand how it is that we're going to win the game, and the key cards are gonna be Once Upon a Time to try to draw us into whatever it is that we need. So we're definitely keeping the Once Upon a Time. It's also a spell that we can cast on turn 1. And we're definitely going to keep the Gracer because we want to speed up our mana development. So we know that those 2 cards we're going to keep. Of course, we're going to need an untapped land that's not a bounce land, and we're going to need the bounce land is going to be card advantage. So it's going to be a way for us to recoup a little bit of the card disadvantage that we are incurring into because of the mulligan. So we're going to basically ship the Vesuva and the Primeval Titan, because the steerings again will represent another land drop. So when you look at that hand, I'm bottom in a Primeval Titan, and you often don't see that. So it's certainly interesting, and I wanted to go over that. So we know that we're against Tron. Opponent kept 7. Now they're gonna play an expedition map, and they're gonna pass the turn. We draw Sunhome, which is not an amazing draw, but it allows us to, start on Once Upon a Time. I'm playing the Once Upon a Time right now because I'm looking to draw into an untapped green source, and we do find that because I need to try to get ahead. However, now that I find a Gemstone Mine, you're gonna see that I changed the way that I think about this, and I'm going to think, okay, the way that I have to try to keep up with what my opponent is doing is going to be for me to find an Amulet and try to make sure that I can milk the value from the Semi-Grow Chamber, and I can turn these Royal Gracer into a ramp spell. So what you're going to see me do here is going to be, I'm going to play the Gemstone Mine, and I'm actually going to cast the Steerings, not the Gracer, looking to find an Amulet. I get very lucky, so there's the Amulet. But you can see, the change now that after finding the land that I was looking for, and now I know that I have enough mana for Titan. So now I just need to find a Titan. I need to try to make sure that we can, leverage this Amulet. So you can see that I pivot, and I try to make sure that I change my play and my sequence in order to play to my outs. So even though it's not like the most relevant play, I think it was definitely worth going over because of that. Basically, I wanted to show how I look at my hand, and based on the new information, I'm changing my plays. So here this is going to be an easy play. Probably any of our untapped lands does the same thing. I guess I want to have the Sunhome in play in case I want to copy it with Vesuva. We're going to play the Amulet, and we're going to pass the turn. We're not going to play the Gracer again because I need this Gracer to allow me for a turn 4 Titan. So here I think we need my opponent to not have nothing, and like they just f6 to the turn, which it's a little bit unfortunate, but that's kind of the way it goes sometimes. So now I'm gonna play the Radiant Fountain, and I'm actually feeling very good about this game because of my opponent's keeping their turn. Of course, you don't want to be be kind of relying on this kind of things to happen. But again, I'm playing to my outs, and fortunately for us, that mistake is probably gonna cost my opponent. So they play the Urza's Mine that they fetched for with the Expedition map. They cast the Citizen's Cry and play Chromatic Star, and now they ship back the turn after Chromatic Sphere. Sorry, and then they ship back the turn, and you can see how we get beautifully rewarded by our sequencing because we do draw the Titan, and now we're able to play a Titan on turn 4 on our mulligan to 5 in what almost looked like a dysfunctional hand, and we're going to be able to get away with this game. Of course, again, we got very lucky that my opponent, somehow skipped through their entire turn. But again, like the only way that we were able to capitalize on it is because I decided to change my sequencing. With the lands that I had in play, even with the Amulet, if I had played the Grazer on any turn before this one, I would have not been able to play Primetime right here, and I would actually probably just lost to whatever they could have. And because of these, thinking ahead and try to see, okay, what's the best possible way that I can get to Titan mana, because of, thinking in this fashion and, being able to capitalize on it, now we're able to play Titan. And this is pretty academic from here. We're going to get the Haste Land and Bodo's Garrison, and then we're going to attack, and we're going to go squatter my opponent on their draw step, probably. I guess it doesn't really matter. Like, my opponent's dead now. Nothing they can do is relevant anymore. So I'm just gonna basically skip through this because the rest of this game is pretty much, it's been exciting. We just killed them. So I'm just going to fast forward through it. They play the Ozone, but it doesn't matter because this second Titan is gonna be lethal. So that's gonna be it. We play the Titan, blah 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 blah, and just kill them. Opponent concedes. Alright, now moving on to game number 2. Yes, sorry, I'm using my laptop computer, so the quality of this video is going to be significantly worse than what we have grown accustomed to with my good setup. But again, I just wanted to make sure that I have some that I put out some content. So unfortunately, we kind of skipped through those. I'm gonna rewind a little bit and make sure that that we go through those hands. I clicked on the wrong button there. So here we go. We're met with what is potentially a good hand, except that being on the draw against Tron, I mean, the matchup is not as bad. This is the kind of hand that I would certainly keep if I were facing something like Neobrand, Storm, Infect, one of those really, really bad matchups where I do feel like we need to get lucky in order to win. So I would certainly keep this hand in one of those matchups. Consider that Tron is not really that bad for us, and we can kind of come back from being behind anyway. I am choosing to actually ship this hand, and you can see that I'm mulligan, and we again find an even worse 6, so we're certainly going to ship this one. Castle not looking great here, but even if Castle were great, this hand is missing both an Amulet and a bounce land, so that's just a little bit too much. I don't think I would keep this one, even if these were an untapped resource, so I don't think that it's making really any difference. So we ship it again, opponent mulligans to 6, and we go down to 5, and we are met with an amazing hand. This one is actually very, very good. So it's very interesting to note that here we see Castle Garenbrick shine, right? With the current mana situation that we have right here, this is a turn 3 kill, which is pretty impressive, honestly. This is certainly, Castle kind of undoes our mulligans a little bit. So the sequencing would look turn 1 tapped Castle, that's fine. Turn 2 play Amulet, play bounce land, play second Amulet, untap, and just with the cards that we have here in hand, we should have a turn 3 kill. Of course, we get disrupted very easily with Ghost Squatter, with Nature's Flame, anything from the Tron opponent, but I'm still feeling very good about this mulligan to 6. Opponent goes turn 1, mine into Expedition map. I play my tap land. Simico Chamber, it's kind of it's not really a land, as I was saying. We already have Titan mana, so we don't really need the bounce land. My opponent does not skip through their turn this time around. They play Basic Forest, and they main phase activate the map. I'm like, it's weird, right? Like, I just think that with the new mulligan rule, like, you should just, like, if you're keeping 7 with Tron, you should have no excuse to not have turn 3 Tron, but whatever. I'm not a Tron player. So this is, rolling the scout is not great, and it's not really bad either. This is just, I don't know, it just makes us a little bit more robust, because now, because of the bounce land and the scout, we can, like, my opponent needs to answer 2 things. They either need to answer both Amulet or 1 Amulet and 1 Scout. But if they only answer 1 of those cards, then we still have a turn 3 Titan. And even potentially a turn 3 kill. So, again, multi 5. And my opponent plays the tower that they search for, play Chromatic Sphere. They cycle, I think, and now steerings into a basic forest, another basic forest. My Tron opponent not really, not hitting a break. Oh, they play this member and they kill the scout, but it doesn't really matter. We still have Titan mana, so this is gonna be, again, this is just gonna be a kill. So I'm just going to fast forward to this. We're going to untap twice. We're going to play a Titan, get haste, Boros Garrison and Stronghold, and we attack. We get Vesuva, copy Stronghold, swing for 20. Easy peasy. So that's game 1. Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention is the sideboarding, right? So this was against Tron. So for game 2, you can see the cards that I cut, and I made some notes so I can see exactly what happened. So with the list that you can see, which you can find in the link below, this video and the description, so you can see that I took out 1 Grazer, 1 Explosives, 1 Colony Garden, and Walking Ballista, and what came in is the Ramming Up Excavator, the Rex Sage, and 2 Disdainful Strokes. I'm still testing this Disdainful Stroke, which has been okay. It's been pretty solid. All right, moving on to the next match. Try to close your eyes so you don't see the spoilers of the results. But yeah, okay, so here we go. We're playing match number 2 of this league, and we are met with this beautiful hand, which we snap keep like there's no tomorrow. So we just easy keep. My opponent moves to 6, and they play the tap Temple Garden on 1. I breathe a sigh of relief, because that means that we're probably going to have a turn 2 kill. I drew a Gemstone Mine, which is even... I guess that we would have had a turn 3 kill, but now we have a turn 2. So does my opponent tap out? And they do. And they do for Smuggler's Copter. This, it's really funny because this is apparently a deck that's, I don't know if it's like winning or something, but apparently I played against this deck on stream yesterday or the day before. And that's when my opponent went turn 2 Copter, and now I know I'm playing against the Dubious challenge deck, which is pretty hilarious. So here, this wasn't really an interesting game. We're just going to kill my opponent on turn 2. So we're gonna make 4 mana with the Semi-Growth Chamber thanks to double Amulet. We're gonna play another Amulet, and then we're gonna play the Azusa. This is now gonna be the second land drop, which nets 6 mana. Another land drop with nets 12 mana. And then we're gonna use 3 of those to transmute to Luria West. Then we're gonna use 6 of those to cast Summoner's Pact and cast Primeval Titan and just kill my opponent with some very angry Primeval Titans. And my opponent with an early concession. I wasn't expecting my opponent to concede there, but I guess they trust me. So, all right, moving on to game number 2. The sideboarding, let me go through my notes real quick. Apologize for the noise. Let me go through my notes real quick, and I can tell you exactly how I sideboarded. So this is match number 2. So I bring in 2 Disdainful Stroke, 1 Engineering Explosives, and 1 Reclamation Sage, and I take out 1 Blue Pact, 1 Scout, 1 Engine Steerings, and 1 Ghost Quarter. And I'm gonna change the sideboarding a little bit for game 3. And I'm going to explain it when I get there. Again, this deck is very, very new, so I'm kind of like figuring it out as I go. And this hand, unfortunately, doesn't really do anything, so I'm going to ship it. And now I keep this, which is, it's interesting, right? So we got the Disdainful Stroke. And we got a little bit of interaction in the form of engineered explosives, and we also have steering. So I'm like, okay, we can play it. We can play a slow game here. I have interaction from my opponent in two different ways, and I have like a cantrip, so maybe we can get somewhere with this. And I'm gonna bottom the Boros Garrison. So opponent goes turn 1, and they play this card, which I totally forgot about. So you're gonna see that my Cybern is gonna change for game 3, and I just told you that I took out a Ghost Quarter. For game 3, this Ghost Quarter is gonna come back in, and I'm gonna take out a Radiant Fountain instead. So my opponent plays their tap land, and they pass them. So now I untap. And this is actually a pretty solid draw because it enables me to get like a little bit ahead on mana. So of course, instead of going steering someone, I'm gonna play the scout, which is pretty good. So now my opponent on their turn 2, they're gonna play a cantrip, I think. Yeah, no, a mana dude, I guess. So they play their mana dude and just play a tap land and pass the turn. Which makes for some interesting sequencing. I wonder, like, it makes me think that this is the card that they drew. Because otherwise, like, it seems like so much higher value to play the Avacyn's Pilgrim and play the mana dude on turn 1. I guess that they could have also top decked the Avacyn's Pilgrim, but it's fine. That's fine. So I steerings here, and the reason why I'm gonna steerings before doing anything else, it's because my opponent's gonna have access to 4 mana next turn, and again, I'm putting them on the Dubious challenge deck. I still don't know, but I'm pretty certain that is the case. That is like the only deck that I've seen that plays these 3 cards. So I'm going to steerings hoping to hit a Gemstone Mine, and I do. We see one exactly right there. So you're gonna see that again, due to the new information, I pivot, and instead of playing my tap land as the first first thing to do on the turn, instead what I do is I play my Gemstone Mine that my opponent knows of, and then I pass the turn. So now my opponent is going to play their land. And surprise, surprise, they tap their mana and Dubious challenge. I flash in the basic forest, counter it. Get out of here, Dubious challenge. Get out of here. Okay, so we untap. We go to draw step, and we find a Primeval Titan. This is great because now I know that I don't need to be playing this. I don't need to play the tap Toleriwest so I can transmute on the following turn, which is a little bit awkward. So we're simply going to here play the tap Toleriwest and pass the turn. One thing that I do consider is playing the explosives on 1. However, my opponent didn't cantrip at all, and they have like 4 copies total of Dubious Challenge, so I don't put my opponent having a second copy. So I just let them untap with the Avacyn's Pilgrim until I get more information. I might want to explosives on something else, Opponent plays a land, and now they tapped, but they untap, and now they play a Charming Prince. They scry 2, which is definitely the correct mode, and they're holding up a Field of Ruin mana. And what I do here, it's actually interesting. I could end step flashing the Gruul Turf, but it will give first of all, it would give my opponent a way to use their mana, which I'm not interested in doing. So I don't want to give them a way to use their mana, and I also don't want them to. I don't want to expose my Gruul Turf because I don't have Titan mana if my opponent destroys this Gruul Turf. So here, instead of flashing in the land end of turn, I'm simply going to untap and see what I draw. I draw a Semi-Growth Chamber, so now I can actually do some. I can actually transmute and do some cool stuff. So we're gonna see that I'm going to transmute here. I started the blue pack, so I can't put that in my hand, unfortunately, but I can set up for another Primeval Titan down the road. Now my opponent will Field of Ruin end of turn, which I will, of course, counter the activation of by flashing in the Semi-Growth Chamber. So flashing the Semi-Growth Chamber, bounce the land. Opponent goes to main phase, they play a land, and I am very surprised. This is the first time I've seen this card see any modern play at all. And boom, Trostani. What? Trostani Discordant. I guess this is now a modern playable card, officially. Anyway, so they create 2 1/1. So now my opponent has 1, 2, 5, 10 power in play, which is pretty cute. pretty cute. And also the ability is kind of hilarious with like they gain control of all the cards they own. That's funny. Unfortunately, here we're kind of screwed. Like if my opponent has an Emrakul there, they actually have mana to untap, and this is something that I maybe, if I need to be very conservative, I should have played the Explosives on 0 and crack it and just use this turn to develop mana. I ended up choosing to go for Prime Time because we can cast it thanks to playing the bounce land and then bouncing a basic and replaying it. I end up going for the Titan, and I get too bad because I was expecting to get the Feel of the Dead with this trigger, but it doesn't really matter. So I just set up for the next turn. My opponent cracks the Most Worth Breath, and then of course they had the Emrakul, so I get very punished. However, I'm still not sure that I'm supposed to Explosives on 0 because like there's so many cards that if my opponent has a Flicker or Wisp or something like that, they just like undo everything and they can cast the Emrakul at instant speed anyway. So I'm still not sure what I should have done. If I had had exactly one more land drop, I would have been fine because I could have gotten a Ghost Quarter, except that I started it out. So I learned something in this match for sure, and now I'm going to for game 3. You're gonna see that actually I do bring back the Ghost Quarter, and what I take out instead, it's going to be the Radiant Fountain, which I think is pretty bad. So I look at my opening hand, I like it a lot, so we keep it. And this is gonna be actually some interesting sequence, so check it out. First of all, I play my tap land and then say go, instead of casting it once upon a time. And the reason for that is that there's like nothing that I would want to do on turn 1. Like I don't have any incentive to play the Amulet on 1, unless I like top deck exactly as Sousa. So I'd rather take my time and like see what I draw, and only cast it once upon a time after I've gathered the most amount of information. So we see that I found another land, and this once upon a time would have most likely have found another land. I mean, we found another cantrip, never mind. But now that I know that I'm probably gonna find another land, now I can use this once upon a time to find another something else. I end up only finding a Semi-Growth Chamber, but that's fine because that's probably gonna lead me to transmute later in the game. So here, of course, my opponent only is going to have access to 2 mana at most next turn, so there's no reason for me to want to hold up the Stateful Stroke. So I just Steerings, and I do find a Gemstone Mine, which I put in my hand. I bottomed 2 Titans already, so that's kind of unfortunate, but I just passed the turn now. So my opponent untaps, and let's see what happens. Smuggler's Sculptor. Whenever my opponent plays this card, I just can't help it. I just laugh. Again, my opponent only is gonna have access to 3 mana next turn. I'm not putting them having Simian Spirit Guide. That's just not realistic. So I'm just assuming that I'm not gonna need to hold up the Stateful Stroke. So I start the turn by casting once upon a time, and here I'm going to get the castle. Exactly, yeah. So we play the castle tapped. And now next turn I have Titan mana, right? Because I can play the Golgari Rot Farm, I can activate the castle, and I can summon us back for a Titan. So that castle draw was actually pretty amazing. Note that a bounce land would have not given me the necessary mana there. My opponent apparently missed the land drop and they just passed the turn. So at this point I feel like this game is pretty much over. So after I do this, my opponent only has green mana, so there's nothing that I need to play around. I don't need to play around like 8 or 9 Sensor or any of those like crazy things. But yeah, this is yet again a Castle Garen Break showing its power. I've been pretty impressed with this card at this point. Here I'm just gonna bounce the castle because I want to make sure that I don't like randomly die to, I don't know, like Ghost Square or something. My opponent concedes; they don't want to see anything else. But I think that it's very easy to just like disregard that game as just like, yeah, like Francisco just got lucky and everything. But I think it's always very important. That's one of the keys of this new version of Amulet that has so many cantrips, is your sequencing. Not only is sequencing one of the most important things with Amulet to begin with, but now your sequencing becomes more important than ever, basically. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth it for me to like take the time and explain through my lines, especially right now when I'm not streaming or anything like that, so I can go really deep into all of my all the stuff that I'm thinking at any point in the game. we are on the play. We have a keeper. So here, of course, I'm looking for a 1-drop. So we're going to Once Upon a Time immediately. And do we find a scout? No, we don't. Never lucky. So we do find a redundant prime time. And then I'm going to cast Steerings right now. Find a castle. I'm okay with what's going on. Castle is not great right there, but it's kind of what it is. So I am putting my opponent on blue-white control so far. They haven't cast anything, so now I get to cast Grazer. This is great. And I can Simic here, play the Gemstone Mine. Now we just pass the turn. And my opponent end of turn fetches, which makes no sense to me because they're fetching the basic. And when they play Cascade Bluffs, I basically, my heart sinks for a second. And yep, there it is, game 1 Bloodman. So at this point, it's just like this game is pretty much over. So I'm just gonna skip through this. But and this is the important thing. I don't want to concede yet because I wanna gather as much information as possible. So now I know that my opponent's playing Thing in the Eye. So I know that I have to sideboard according to this, and I want to make sure that my opponent, I can bring in the relevant cards. Like for example, if my opponent were killing me with Embercool, I would not bring in Dismember, but because I see a Thing in the Eyes now, I know that Explosives and Dismember are going to be great. So here we basically get cheesed out. My opponent gets, they show me Ogre of Bolas, and I just, I just laugh a little bit. But I mean, they're going to get to bounce their Augur and get more value. Also, Augur of Bolas whiffed. Just wanted to point that out. So after they flip the Walking Horror, there's nothing else to do here. All right, so let's move on to the next game number 2. Sideboarding goes as follows. I am bringing in 1 Force, 1 Reclamation Sage, 1 Cavern of Souls, 1 Bojuki Bog, 2 Dismember, 1 Tracker, and 2 Engineered Explosives. And the cards that I'm taking out are, you can see right here, are going to be the 4 Scouts, Summoner's Pact, Amulet of Vigor, Walking Ballista, Ghost Quarter, and Radiant Fountain. One thing to note is that in this matchup, I would be bringing Negate if I had it. So Disdainful Stroke definitely being painful here. Now, I played earlier against the Blue-Red Breach version of the deck, and I certainly brought Disdainful Stroke against that version of the deck. However, I don't think I want it. I don't think I want it here. It basically would only counter Cryptic Command, and that's very low EV. So I don't think it's worth it. Also, that card gets Disdainful Stroke gets really bad. Negate for that matter after a Blood Moon resolve. So we have a very good hand that just dies to Blood Moon, but that's fine. I mean, our deck dies to Blood Moon anyway, so we're starting on Once Upon a Time again. The sequencing, I'm playing on Cantrip on turn 1, so the sequencing is just, it's not very relevant. So here, I think I'm going to take the Grazer so I can speed up. The other consideration was to take either the Tolera West or the Blue Bounce at the Simic Growth Chamber. But I think that trying to stay ahead is going to be more important. And having access to Steerings means that if I get the Grazer there, next turn I get to Azusa and Steerings, and if I find a bounce on there, we basically have we have a mana for a turn 3 Titan, which is great. Either bounce on or Castle would do it. So opponent goes turn 1 Island. Now we draw Dismember, which is not an insane draw for now at least, but it might prove useful later in the game. Opponent peaks. Yeah, my opponent is definitely playing making some interesting card choices. So we have Steerings here, and we do find a castle. So that's exactly what we're looking for. So now we do have Titan mana. So we pass the turn, of course, attacking for 0 with the Arboreal Grazer, just tight plays all around. Opponent plays the island, and now I get the choice to like kind of go for it. And I think that it's correct to do it. I get got by Mana Leak, but that is fine. My opponent hasn't shown me Mana Leak anyway. And this is... The only consideration that I could have seen was to play the Gemstone Mine. But I'd rather like hold information, and we just need to basically slug through these remands and stuff. Like we can't just wait because of the threat of Blood Moon. We don't have an answer to Blood Moon. So we kinda need to jam into... We gotta need to jam into remands and stuff, because if we pass the turn and my opponent just like plays a Blood Moon and that's it, we're in a lot of trouble. So here we just go for it again. Go for it again, and what does my opponent have this time around? They tap some mana and remand again. Alright, so we get remanded again. So we attack for, we attack for 1 with the Azusa. This time we don't attack with the Gracer. I don't know, I guess I just got lazy. Alright, so now I'm afraid, because so far my opponent played triple island, and I'm like, alright. MatchUP is kind of problematic, but it's not the end all be all. So, step number 1, I props to my opponent for not minusing for no reason, especially with the Azusa in play. Also, the no minus kind of makes me think that that they might not have a bolt, but again, it's strictly correct for my opponent to not minus here because they want to keep the MatchUP at the highest loyalty possible. So props to them for making the correct play, which you'd be surprised at how many times opponents just don't really, you know, they just immediately minus and then make the MatchUP significantly easier to kill. The good thing though is that we're gonna get to resolve our Primeval Titan, and my opponent will need something like double bolt or something, or like land, bolt, snap, bolt, or something like that. We don't get to fetch, but now we have a Colossal Dreadmaw in play, and my opponent needs to be the Colossal Dreadmaw now. So they do have the second red source, and I'm a little bit afraid now. My opponent only plays a thing in the ice though. They Stone Rain me, which I find interesting and kind of cute. But it's kind of whatever. They destroy my Sun Home, and I'm like, sure, whatever, bro. I decide to use my mana because I don't know what I'm gonna be using. I don't know what I'm gonna be top decking, so I kind of want to make sure that I'm using my mana efficiently there. And now for sure, Prime Time is gonna clear the Ashiok. We're not gonna get to search this turn, but now our Titan is gonna be free next turn, and we also get to attack for 1 with the Azusa. We're steering second main phase. Again, no reason to steer before because like there's nothing that we're looking for really. And here I'm gonna get this Stronghold because if my Titan gets answered, at least that means that an Azusa can clock like a potential Narset or something else. And I'm holding the Amulet in hand because there's literally no reason to show the Amulet to my opponent. They might make like a greedy play, or they might tap out for something, and I might be able to punish them thanks to the Amulet. Also, it hides information, so a couple of upsides there. So now, again, I don't want for my opponent to be able to take counters from their thing in the ice, so I don't want to play my Amulet into a remand or into a Force of Negation. So again, my opponent needs to answer my Prime Time before anything else, so we're gonna start there. My opponent lets me go to combat, which makes me think that this game is going to end up well for me. Now we do draw, and what I think about this for a second, and finally end up settling on Tolaria plus Simic, because I'm gonna be able to transmute right now, which seems potentially relevant. The other thing that I thought about was Field of Ruin plus like a bounce land or something, but I think this is fine. And my opponent doesn't block at all, which I find interesting. Maybe they're playing around Walking Ballista. I kind of don't know what they might be playing around there. But yeah, so now second main, I float a mana, and now I do play the Amulet because again, we're getting some value now from it, because this means that I don't need to sacrifice my Gemstone Mine, basically. So we play Simic Growth once, we play Simic Growth twice, and I think that the Colony Garden is actually very important post Thing in the Ice flip. So you're going to see that I'm not going to play it out as my third land here. We already have more than enough mana, so just get a Pact of Negation and just pass the turn. My opponent has basically shown me that they don't have any Abrade Vault combination going on over there. So my opponent repeals, I think, the Amulet here. Of course I let it go because it doesn't matter whatsoever. And now opponent plays a land, and I'm a little bit more afraid now of what my opponent could have here. And they have a Narset, which I let go because it doesn't flip the thing in the ice, and it doesn't really do anything for my opponent here, honestly. It's just an impulse. So here I draw a Summoner's Pact, but I think I choose, and I think I'm correct here. Again, I don't want to jam stuff into a remand, and I just basically allow my opponent to flip this thing in the ice. As is, they have to answer my Titan before they even get to, not die. So it definitely seems relevant to do this. My opponent. So I now I get to resolve, and now I actually do go for the field line because it's going to help me. Oh no, I don't. I guess yeah. So this is the turn that I choose to play around Blood Moon because I can. So even if my opponent flips the thing and then next turn slams a Blood Moon, I still have outs. Like I can work with this basic forest. So my opponent makes a very cute play here, which is the Archmage's Charm. They gain control of my Gracer, and this allows them to survive for the turn. So they're going to get the Gracer on their side. I'm going to balance the Borders Garrison because of the Amulet, which I'm going to recast on my second main phase. And here they make these blocks. I consider for a second trying to to activate this Stronghold in order to deal a couple more damage. The difference between 4 and 2 doesn't really make a lot of difference. So I choose to hold up my mana and make sure that I can resolve a second Titan here. My opponent forces the Amulet, which I am very much okay with, because now I get to resolve another Titan and get a ton of value. And now my opponent is in a lot of trouble. Moto. We're getting to the good part, Moto. Come on, you can do this. Again, I apologize for the the lack of quality of the computer, but it kind of is what it is. I can't believe I actually streamed off of this computer when I just started. That's kind of crazy to me. And some people watched. Good for you guys. I have no idea what's going on here. Apologize for this, man. We're going so well. We're going so well. Yeah, it seems like it's Moto that's just crashing on me. Okay, so we're gonna start this match over this game over. Now we were getting to the good part. All right, so let's fast forward through the stuff. So this is gonna be the same game. So it's just gonna be faster. So we're going to do this. Yeah, to be honest, I was kind of lucky that MatchUP was the only stuff that my opponent had. And when you have MatchUP but no backup, once a Titan resolve, it's really hard for this kind of deck to actually answer it. Alright. I guess it was actually not that bad. We're almost there. Almost there. Alright, so here we go. So we play another Titan and we get 2 more basics. That's what happened basically. So we pay for Pact and my opponent concedes, because they know that I have the Pact of Negation and I can just do everything. So it wasn't there wasn't that much left. Now game 3 is actually super interesting. So let's check this one out. Alright, moving on to game 3. Opponent's gonna be on the play. We have this hand, which we of course ship. So, and we get this one, which is significantly better by a wide margin. Now, I think that the correct thing to bottom here is going to be the steerings. We can definitely talk about that if you want to leave a comment or something. I'm down to discussing that. But I think that having access to the castle and the snow covered land is going to be important. So we drew a potential Titan here. We cast steerings, looking to find another untapped source. So we're actually I guess Bounce Land also does the same thing. Either Untapped Source or Bounce Land would have been fine there. But I still would very much like to not play into a Blood Moon, right? I don't want to just play a Bounce Land there and my opponent playing a Blood Moon and now I'm actually 1 land drop behind. Big difference between my opponent playing a Blood Moon and I untap and I play a Title Striker than my opponent, just playing the Blood Moon and they have nothing. Also, my opponent missed a land drop even after cantripping, so I'm actually not unhappy about this situation. I play the Azusa, of course. We see what happens. My opponent remands. And now my opponent finds the 3rd land, but it's an island. So I'm actually kind of happy here at this point. They do play the MatchUP, but our situation is just great right here, right? What I choose to go for is Azusa, and I'm going to play Bounce Land, another land, and then I'm going to play Cavern of Souls or Human, actually. Again, this summoner spike doesn't do anything because of the Ashiok, so I'm planning on making sure that I can resolve this Tireless Tracker. And also I'm bouncing the lands because I want to make sure that I have mana in play to crack loose. So first order of business, we go to attacks. We still have mana to play Azusa and Tracker, so it's definitely correct to go to attacks. If my opponent wants to trade with a Snapcaster, I'm very, very happy about that. So step number 1 is make an uncounterable Tracker. Easy peasy. Then I'm gonna go with Bujuki Bog first. And then I'm gonna play my land. I consider cycling there because my opponent hasn't shown me a removal spell, but I'm like, I don't know. And I decide to instead go with the Semi-Growth Chamber, and my opponent does effectively, I guess they did misclick or something. So I basically get 1 free clue out of this exchange, which is great for me. Of course, I crack the clue in response now because I want to know what I'm going to be drawing, because what I'm going to be drawing might affect what I'm going to bounce here. So I think it's correct to cycle there. I found the Titan. I'm actually kind of happy about that. Because now I can bounce, I know that I can bounce the cover and I can play it on Giant, and I'm setting up beautifully for next turn. Also, it's a little bit of extra value because I get to crack the clue end step, and I don't give my opponent the chance to like abrade it or whatever. So we cycle end step, and basic forest. It's not the end of the world, but it's not horrendous either. Again, first order of business, play the Azusa, attack with Azusa. Now, let's see if my opponent wants to trade. They repeal, which I kind of don't care about. So now I play my land, I play the Titan, and again, same deal as before. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing the Azusa first because it's not uncounterable. It's like a minor thing. It's not particularly relevant because my opponent only has 1 mana up. But I'm just like making sure that I replay the Azusa. And here we cast the uncounterable Titan. And we're gonna pass the turn to my opponent. Again, Ashiok doing a little bit of work, but not enough because my opponent still needs to face a Colossal Dreadmaw. They find the Narset, and this is kind of hilarious. This is the first time that I see this actually. My opponent has Dazen doing Narset combo, which kind of I don't care too much about, and I actually get like a nice upgrade because it turned my pacts into 1 actual Titan, which is pretty hilarious. And now I get to attack the Ashiok, and with this ETB trigger from this Primeval Titan, we're gonna kind of go nuts. And this time around, I do think that it's actually very valuable for me to to find Field of the Dead. And I guess I go for Teleria West because we can transmute for a Pact of Negation. Yeah, so apparently Moto doesn't appreciate primetime triggers because this is the second time that it's... I guess that the redundant primetime trigger is what gets Moto. Alright, so we're going to reset again. One thing that I forgot to talk about is the sideboarding. Yeah, so we're gonna do we're doing +1 Force, +1 Sage, +1 Cavern, +1 Bog, +2 Dismember, +1 Tracker, +2 EE. And we're doing -4 Scout, -1 Amulet, -1 Ballista, -1 GQ, -1 Fountain, -1 Green Pact. So hopefully you caught all of that. So this is the same stuff. We attack the Ashiok. Oh, one little detail. I actually attacked the Ashiok with the primetime trigger. With the Azusa. I attacked the Narset on the previous turn with the Azusa. Because if my opponent wants to draw a card, they need to like kill their own Narset. So here comes the second primetime trigger. And I get Teleria plus Bounce Land. Now we get Field of the Dead and we start going nuts. And yeah. Alright. So we start going nuts, and my opponent even plays a Blood Moon, which I don't counter because it just doesn't do anything on this board. Because my opponent still needs to beat my board state, and they can't. So we get there. Yeah, I think that there were a couple of decisions there still, but like Moto is just not buying it for me today. All right, second to last match, and Game 1. We're gonna be on the play. Feeling like $1,000,000. Did I actually keep this? Yeah, I did keep this. Nice. Okay, so I found the basic forest off of the Once Upon a Time, and then I try to cantrip into a bounce line, which I do find. Now we get to play the Amulet and hold up bounce line. My opponent goes turn 1 Botanical Sanctum and turn 2 Waterlogged Grove. And at this point, I'm just freaking out. So my opponent, I flash in the bounce land and step. Of course, I untap and I draw another bounce land, which it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to play a Titan. I'm going to haste it and I'm going to attack. I could double strike here. So my options were to go for a double strike here, or to go for so we can swing for 16 because I'm going to need to tap the scout to double strike. But what I end up going for is Pact of Negation instead. And you're going to see that I play the bounce land 3 times. After playing the Azusa, we're going to Pact. And we're going to have enough mana to both. Now we're going to bounce the basic forest. And we're going to have enough mana to both pay for Summoner's Pact and Pact of Negation on upkeep. At this point, I'm putting my opponent 100% on Neobrand. Moto. Seems like I've been doing this video for a little too long and Moto is not appreciating it. Yeah, so what's gonna happen here is I'm going to attack. I'm going to deal them 8 damage. I'm going to transmute, get a Simic Chamber and Tolaria West on the attack trigger. I am going to bounce the Tolaria West. I'm going to use the untapped Simic and this blue mana from this Gemstone Mine to transmute for a Pact of Negation. Then my opponent is going to play an Allosaurus Rider. They're going to Neoform it away, and I'm going to counter it, and my opponent will concede to the Pact. So we're going on to game 2. Winning game 1 against Neobrand always feels like $1,000,000. So we start with this hand, which I of course ship, and then we have like a lucky one. So we are doing. I bottom the Cavern of Souls, and again, this is a terrible matchup, so I'm trying to get a little bit lucky here. I'm going to give play. So turn 1, it's going to be interesting, and I'm going to play the Amulet. So different things to think about here. I drew the steering, so that's one thing that could potentially happen. Now, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to basically set up the fastest skill possible, because my opponent is playing a non-interactive deck, and I want to make sure that I try to, stay alive, or I can kill as fast as possible before they kill me. Now, there's nothing that I want to do with the Grazer. Like, it's just going to put the Tolaria West in play, and I don't even know whether I want this to be in play or in my hand. Because if I draw a Simic Growth Chamber with double Amulet, the Simic Growth Chamber itself is going to allow me to transmute this into a Pact of Negation, which I might need. So what I do is I play the Amulet on 1, and I don't Steerings either, because if I find a bounce land, then we actually have Titan mana on turn 2. So that's why I didn't Steerings. So I'm looking for the highest EV play, to put it somehow. Yeah. So now I'm planning on, Steerings next turn, or play another Amulet and then Steerings or something like that. My opponent Manamorphoses, and I'm afraid, but then Manamorphose again, and then they Once Upon a Time, and they get something irrelevant. Now again, my opponent, I drew the Disdainful Stroke, and that was a massive deal. So I have different choices there, and you can see, of course, spoiler alert, you just saw exactly what happened. But I have a ton of options there. I can get a little bit greedy, and I can attempt to draw specifically Simic Growth Chamber. Now, what's the downside of drawing specifically Simic Growth Chamber is the fact that I'm not gonna get to Amulet, right? I'm not gonna get to Titan mana, because I can play the Simic Growth Chamber, I can play the Amulet, a second Amulet, I can play the Grazer, and I only make 4 mana. So that's not enough mana to cast a Titan. So what I do is I choose to play it slow, and I decide to play the Tolaria West, untaps to the Amulet trigger, and I pass the turn. And it totally pays off because obviously you just saw that my opponent slammed an Alzaros Rider and just disdainful stricken it, whatever. And I use disdainful stroke, and now I'm feeling very, very good now. So we untap, I find an amulet. I steering seem to be looking for a bounce land. I do find it. So I play another amulet, I play the bounce land, and now we actually do have the kill. But again, same thing that I keep saying over and over again. I'm winning these games because I am pivoting exactly at the necessary time. And I'm not, I'm trying to not get stuck. And this is something that actually happens to me while on stream, while I can't really focus that well. Sometimes I will get kind of like zoomed in on a play. And then that is like, I get kind of blindsided, and I don't, I just go for that, and I fail to reassess. When I play Moto just by myself, I have way more time to think about this stuff, and I can think about this stuff without saying it. And I'm as you can see, I'm much better at this constant reassessing and trying to see, okay, so this is how the information changed. I have all this information now. How does this new information that I've gotten change my decision? And we really saw that in that game, and I was able to win because of it, because I was going to die otherwise. All right, so last game, we're currently 4-0 in this league, and we are met with a beautiful hand. I'm going to Once Upon a Time first, obviously, because I'm planning on playing Scout on 1, so we do find the Silencian Sanctuary. Feeling very good about this hand. Play the Scout. Opponent plays Expedition Map. Cast Steerings before anything else. I find the second amulet. Play Radiant Fountain. Play another amulet. And I decide to play the other amulet right now because I don't think that any Tron deck has any way to stop me at this point. Blast Zone is the only card that comes to mind if my opponent is on E-Tron, but they can't even crack it. And apparently they are actually on Blue Tron. So here I choose to... I just play my bounce land twice, and this allows me to play around Condescend. I can't really play around Remand. If my opponent has Remand, then that's kind of it. No big deal there. But I'm trying to develop my mana a little bit because I'm trying to eventually play through a Condescend and a Remand. Just get to a point where I have access to 12 mana. So you're gonna see that I'm gonna bounce a Radiant Fountain here, and then I'm going to play out the Prime Time. My opponent is going to remand it. There's the remand. And then I'm going to play the Ballista. I could play it for 2, but again, I'm trying to develop my mana. So I'm just going to play it for 1. My opponent plays a redundant Ursus Tower, and then we untap. Now we are trying to play Prime Time again. Now the good thing is that I get to, again, develop my mana. So I'm making 4 mana there, 6 mana, play Prime Time. Opponent does not have the counter magic this time around, but what they do have, which caught me a little bit off guard, is the Nimble Obstructionist trigger, so they basically stifle me. It's not particularly relevant, but, that's kind of whatever. My opponent does play the Blast Zone. They Blast Zone everything, they blow everything on 1, but I'm just developing my mana. Now I do play the Bounce Land again. I was planning on playing the Fountain EOT, but now that both of my amulets are going to be gone, it's much better for me to, play the Bounce Land end step, reset my Gemstone Mine, and also charge up this Ballista. I get to do all that stuff. Then the Expedition Map and the other stuff will die, and now we play a land, we play a Susa. This game is just over. Even my opponent destroyed my amulets, but it just doesn't matter. So we play a couple of lands, second main phase. My opponent pays 4, they play a Karn. I put a counter on the Ballista, and my opponent concedes some response. I have no idea why, but that's the way it goes. So, last game of the league. And for the 5-0, and we're met with this beautiful turn 2 kill. And I snap this off immediately. My opponent plays Sulsa's Tower and Expedition Map. Then I play turn 1 Basic Forest and Amulet. And my opponent goes for the turn 2 Ghost Squatter, which really puts a wrench on the plan. So I play this, because I want my opponent to basically wasteland themselves. The problem is, of course, this puts me behind 1 land drop, which is a little bit annoying. But that's okay. I really want my opponent to go basically wasteland themselves there. This means that unfortunately I can't kill him on turn 2, but I still have a second bounce line in hand, so I'm not in the worst position ever. So here I choose to go for the Semi-Ghost Chamber. One thing that's important to note is that I could have played the Tularia West and I could have played the Azusa, but I would have run right into Condescend, and I'm trying to play around Condescend and Remand. It does cost me a land draw, but that's probably just fine. So now I do decide to actually just bounce the bounce land again, and I play Azusa. Now I know that my opponent does not have Remand, so that's good for me. And I choose to actually use this turn to transmute for a Cavern of Souls, which you're gonna see here. And I do choose to play the Cavern of Souls out, because this means that even if my opponent kills the Azusa, I'm gonna have an Encounterable Titan next turn. My opponent does get the Field of Ruin, which is a little bit annoying, but allows me to just use this turn to develop my mana, and then I play the Scout end step. My opponent's probably gonna be fielding the Cavern, but I'm okay with that because that means that next turn I'm gonna have infinite mana basically. So they do get to destroy all my 1-drops, but it doesn't really matter because now I get to resolve the Titan thanks to the Azusa. Those Blast Stones were pretty good for my opponent. So I do play the Primetime. Yeah, we had the turn to kill, and my opponent definitely made a game out of it. So now we get the Field of the Dead going, and I already have a monster in hand, so I get the Tularia West alongside the Field of the Dead. Things looking really good for us. I choose to hold up the bounce line because I might. I still don't know what I want to do next turn. I don't know whether this Primetime is going to survive. So there's a bunch of hidden information here. And this is actually super interesting. My opponent plays Phyrexian Metamorph. I have not seen this card out of Blue Tron, but it's actually very cool. Like, now they have Tron because they copied my Primetime. So first order of business is I choose to attack with everything, and I go for... I think I go for... Yeah, for Stronghold and Border Scare. So this is because I'm expecting my opponent to trade Primetimes. And if they do, this means that next turn I can transmit for a Primetime and I can start attacking. And if they don't, what I can do here is I can bounce the Tularia West and I can transmute for Ramming Up Excavate. I can transmit for Pact and then get Ramming Up. If I get Ramming Up, then I get to replay the Ghost. I get to basically triple Ghost Quarter them even through the Primetime. One thing that I forgot to mention is the sideboarding. Which is going to be +1 Force of Vigor, +1 Sage, +2 Disdainful Stroke, +1 Tracker, +1 Ramming, +1 Bulk, +1 Cavern, and we're going to take out 2 Strings and 2 Green Pacts. 1 Walking Ballista, which I take out because of Karn the Great Creator. My opponent showed me the card on turn 1, on game 1. -1 Radiant Fountain, -1 Colony Garden, and -1 Grazer. Those are all the changes that I made. That's not what happened, actually. Let's see if Moto can recreate what happens. But yeah, this game ended up being super interesting, actually. Even though it started very good for me. It started with a turn 2 kill, and my opponent was able to hang in there and try to, figure out the best possible lines for me to... in order to delay me, basically. Right, so this is when we resolve the Primetime. There's when we get our field triggers, opponent gets their own Primetime, and we attack. And this is where we lagged. Okay, so I bounce, and I do get Ramming Up, and I triple Ghost Quarter my opponent there. Then they use their thing, and they get a Primetime. I block the Primetime with all my zombie tokens, and my opponent only has access to 5 mana on their turn, and they concede the game because they don't have an answer to Ramming Up Excavator. Alright, so hope you appreciate it and you enjoy this in-depth talks about all these matchups through a league. This is my 4th 5-0 this season. I think that this is the list that I've been playing, by the way. I think that this list is extremely strong. I think that I'm getting very close to finding a list that I consider ideal. One thing that I could see trying out with this list is to do like the 61-14 approach that Sam Black was talking about. So we're gonna see whether that is worth it. But it's certainly an interesting thing it's an interesting thought experiment at the least. Once Upon a Time has been stellar, and actually Grazer has been very very good as well. Just having access to more 1-drops has felt very powerful. The castle, you saw it in action multiple times throughout that league. It's been consistently very good for me, and I will continue playing with it. I thought that I really think that just ignoring the potential upside, which is to just make it come into play untapped if you have a forest. I don't think it's worth trying to enable that. I think it's way better to just play the superior land in Gemstone Mine and just basically take Castle Garenbrig as just like a land that enters the battlefield tapped, and that it's basically kind of like a bounce land proxy that is going to allow you to tighten a little bit easier. Yeah, I've been really liking this list. I'm currently 14-1 in matches with it, and my only loss was to getting cheesed out by Neobrand on stream on turn 1 on games 1 and 3 the other day. So whenever we did get to play Magic, we basically won the match. So the list has felt very powerful. I'm kind of like trying to figure out whether there's any potential changes that I want to make. I am actually kind of afraid of the Paradoxical Outcome Ursa decks. One card that a lot of people have been considering is Rurik Thar. Personally, I'm not a fan of Rurik, but I could see giving it a shot again. Like if there's been a time for Rurik to shine again since the KCI days, it's potentially right now. So if I do end up choosing to go the Rurik way, then I'm probably gonna go back to playing all 3 Gruul Turfs as my bounce lands. And probably, whenever Rurik Thar comes in, I'm gonna bring in the Cavern of Souls. One thing that's kind of awkward is that Castle doesn't help I cast Rurik, so that's kind of brutal. But yeah, I don't know. And the only card that I could see cutting is potentially either the Explosives or maybe the Tormod's Crypt. I kind of really like the Tormod's Crypt though, so I can't really see myself cutting this. But maybe we only play with 2 Explosives. It would be the first time ever that I will play with 2 Explosives. I'm a big fan of the 3 Explosives in the 75. But it might be maybe necessary. That Ursa deck is very very strong, and as the more that people start realizing that, and the more that they start tuning it, the more broken that it will become. But yeah, I really hope you enjoy the content. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you again on stream on not this week but the following week. So if I have time to make another one of these kind of videos, I will for sure post it on Twitter or somewhere. So maybe you will find some more YouTube content down the line. But yeah, have an amazing rest of the day, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.